My name's Des Pawson. I'm considered by some to know rather a lot about knots. I've in fact been tying knots since I was a small boy of age 7, and they've always fascinated me because knots are both practical but they're also sculptural. They do interesting jobs, they've got history, and even the most simple knots can be used to make all sorts of interesting things. And I want to show you how to make a simple bracelet using, it depends on how we like to look at it, 1 or 2 very simple knots, and then you can have a go yourself. One knot that many people will know about is called the reef knot. The reef knot is quite straightforward and simple. It's not specifically for joining 2 pieces of rope, whatever anybody might tell you. It's for tying 2 pieces of rope together round a bundle. That's why it's called a reef knot. A reef in a sail is a bundle that you tie to make the sail smaller. So they tie the reef knot. Now when you tie a knot, there are actually 2 processes. You make the right moves and then you dress it or form it to the shape you want. Because if you make the right moves but pull the wrong way, you lose your knot. Now this applies all kinds of knots, so you want to look to what you're trying to achieve. The reef knot in America, not here in England, but in America, they call it the square knot because it's flat. Some of you will have perhaps heard of the granny. The granny knot is not square or flat. It's got a twist in it, and it doesn't lock in the same sort of way, and it's really not such a good thing at all. In fact, gorillas use that for making their nests. When they make a mistake, they might finish up with a reef knot. Let us be considerate, let us think about it. The reef knot is flat or square. So we're going to make lots of reef knots and make that into a bracelet. I'm going to do it in big scale to start with so that you can see what's going on very clearly, and then we'll do the same thing in smaller material that will be person sized rather than giant filming size. So I'm taking a great chunk of rope, I'm going to the middle, and I'm going to just tie that most simple of knots, which people might call it's called an overhand or a thumb knot, but I almost say, and it's the knot you tie in the corner of your handkerchief to remember something. So we're going to tie that knot round a loop like that. Now, this one is sort of pointing forward, this one's sort of pointing backwards in my viewing of what we're going on here. We're going to try and make a series of reef knots flat, tied round the middle core. So this one is going to come to the front. This one comes over and back through the loop. Note, this one is pointing forward now, and this one is pointing backwards. The one pointing forward, because we want to make it flat, comes behind, and the one that's behind comes to the fore. I will point out that is our little reef knot, nice and flat. So we can keep on doing a series of these. So this one is pointing back, this one is pointing forward. The one that's pointing back comes to the front, the one that's pointing forward comes to the back. See how it's caught that one? Pointing forward, so it goes back. pointing backwards, so it's come round and goes to the fore. Each time we're catching the core in the middle here, pointing backwards, pointing forwards. I always work this way. One could start the other way round, but finish up with the same arrangement, looking very carefully that one line is in front and one line is behind the core. You can see now we're building up a series of reef knots, these little flat fellas here. See, it's pointing backwards, so it comes forward. This one's pointing forward, so it goes back. This one's pointing forward, so it goes back. That one's going forward. Once I've made sufficient to go around my wrist, I then have either I can tie these through the loop, the whole lot. We can tie those off. Or, and now this is where I would like to show you a nice neat way of finishing off the end. So instead of tying off with the whole bundle, a neater way is perhaps just to ease off a couple of the last knots and then bring the tail see, they've added to the core at that point. You can then pull that tight and then pull that one tight and then they can be nipped off there, and then we just use these ends to tie it off. How much neater is that? And that's a nice finish. Then you've got a giant bracelet, and you will make a small one just so you can see the scale of it. So rather than tie off all four ends, we'll lose these red ends. And the way to do that is either just to loosen the last couple of knots off, or do another one but don't pull it tight, which is what I'm going to do this time round. It will be a bit easier. And then I'm going to tuck the ends down the middle. They can both be the same side, or you can tuck one side and one the other. That is to say, this side and that side, or both on one side, and then just pull it tight. I like to make these things a little bit tidy, so let's just move that one over there. Can you see what I'm doing? And then we pull that tight, and then I'm going to watch. And I'll just trim those ends off. So we could just finish that off by bringing those through here. Do this round your wrist. Bring it round. Trying to keep everything nice and flat and even there. Bring it a bit closer together.
Okay, there we have a nice little simple bracelet, made lots and lots of reef knots, and that's the basis of all kinds of things. My watch strap is made of lots and lots of reef knots too.